yeah.
Wildcard, how's it going, man?
Good. How are you?
Um, I've been passing kidney stones this week.
That sounds awesome. The best
It's
way to spend a week, man.
so fucking great, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah. Have
I
you ever
don't.
passed them? You ever had them?
No, no, thank God, no. But a friend of mine, I think, is vying for the Guinness World Book of Records. In recent years, it slowed down for him. But man, in when we were younger, that dude he could have upwards of one a month, 1 to 2 a month.
That's horrible.
It's insane. I
Yeah.
think he's been doing a
Mhm.
lot better now,
Good.
but they got something worked out for him. But
That's good.
it-
It runs in my mom's side of the family, um, mostly, and but I had a cousin who he had so many he had them in a Ziploc bag, and it was like a bag of sand.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, but what I found, I've had them for about 9 or 10 years now, but they come every fucking July.
Oh,
I
wild.
don't know the last like 5 years or so. I mean, other than when I was sick one time, like in February, I had a fever, probably
Yeah.
dehydrated. I don't know what it is because there's two types of stones, oxalate and uric. So I
Okay.
stopped eating meat. So they said, "Oh, you're a vegetarian, but you can't eat greens because that's oxalates." I'm like, "Well, the fuck, what am I supposed to eat?" Um, but
Only carrots, just
Well, no,
carrots.
carrots are high oxalate. I eat
Oh,
cabbage. I eat a lot of cabbage. That's like my main vegetable. Everything else, try and peas, pea protein, but
okay.
like no soy, no nuts. It's like 99% of the food that I used to eat, I don't anymore. But uh, and I'm thinking, okay, I want to take care of this. And so every fucking July, it just like hits me. And so I'm in the aftermath. I passed them like a week ago, but I'm having issues like the precursor. It's kind of happening all over again. Usually it's a
Yeah.
couple rounds of it, but yeah. Um, yeah. So I got a heating pad on my junk, keeping because otherwise I
Yeah.
can, trying to keep things calm, but God, it's miserable. Just fucking
Yeah.
terrible.
Yes. Yes, I
You know,
don't envy that. That is not
yeah.
something I envy.
Other than that, it's like Christmas. Christmas
Yeah.
in July. You know, what did Santa bring you? A bag full of fucking kidney stones. It's like Oprah, and you get a kidney stone, and you
Yeah.
get a kidney stone.
Except you're the only one that gets a stone.
Yeah, I'm the only one in the audience, and I get all of them. Man.
Oh shit. That's that's not fun.
No, no. So that's going on in my world. How about you? I mean, you are a busy beaver, and what is shaking
Yeah,
with you?
trying to be busy uh with stuff. That's the gist of it.
Busy with
Uh
stuff. Okay.
yeah, busy with stuff. I am busy. Probably too busy to be honest. I'm real bad at like planning things. For lack of a more fancy word, I'm just
Hmm.
not good at like planning things. So I typically find myself like, all right, let's just dive in head first. And
Okay.
it's so there's a lot of yeah, and I hate it sucks because as an artist you see a lot of like the, you know, oh, big things coming soon and all that shit.
Yeah.
Nobody likes that. Nobody gives a fuck about that. They want,
Give me the things.
give us substance. So for me to be like, I'm not gonna say nothing because yeah, I'm gonna wait to make the official announcements and then but yeah,
Hmm.
we're working on things. Things are being worked on.
As
So
far as like Vindicator or
music.
music, let's just say music.
Let's just say music.
Okay.
So it
I'm
should
still
be
waiting
I
for
it's
Black
a
Fang and Liquor Quick. I mean, I want all of your bands to be on tour at the same time. Like I want to see every incarnation of your band, and I want to sit there and watch you play live for 3 hours.
There was I made a meme out of a meme. This was probably a couple years back where I think it was called like, When We Were Young tour or some shit and it was like all the Hot Topic bands and then somebody changed it and made it, different and then I made When We Were Vic Stone tour and I put all my logos on the same
There you
flyer.
go. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll never happen. I don't have the energy for that shit. I'm too tired and
Yeah.
old for that kind of stuff, man.
When I was in college, some of the bands that I was in, I played in a lot of bands, but sometimes multiple bands got on the same show.
Mm.
Like I played drums in Charlotte's Web, I played
Yeah.
guitar in Escape Fetal Pigs, and so we booked a show. The Pigs booked a show, and they said, "Well, you got anyone else you want to play with?" And I said, "Well, how about Charlotte's Web?"
Yeah.
Because I'm doing wearing both hats, so I got to play 3 sets.
Right.
Pigs played, then Charlotte's Web played, then Pigs played again, and I thought it was great. I was just having so much fun, like going back and forth.
Right. Right. Right.
I mean, we didn't get paid. This is the gig we played at UT, University of Toledo, when we got paid in pizza and beer. I'm
Yeah.
like, that's fine. I'll take that.
Right.
That's totally great.
Right. Yeah, I know a lot of folks that do the double dip thing, and I don't know. Somebody's getting ripped off, I feel like, in that situation where, if you're going out and you're playing, high energy music and you're being energetic, get out there and then like the next band you're in, well, you're gonna have taken a hit unless you're doing coke, I guess. But or like it may guess, but if you're young enough, I suppose you pull it
Yeah.
off.
Yeah,
I never really,
you're
I could never
22 years old, you
comprehend
got
that.
all the fucking energy in the world, you
Right, right, right. And I could just like the music, I struggled to remember my own songs, let alone, a couple sets worth of other songs. I don't think I could have done it ever.
hmm Yeah,
Yeah,
I get it.
that's also you're a multi-instrumentalist though, so that's I don't know that's always I can't wrap my brain around stuff like that either. I think you're a witch, so
Yeah, well, there were a couple times where I filled in, like there was a couple showcases. They used to do like these big band showcases, like for Halloween. There was like 7 bands playing. And it just so happened, like, Charlotte's Web was playing. It was like one of our first gigs, maybe our first gig. But then there was another band that their drummer, they needed a drummer for just that show.
yeah.
And so I filled in. It was a band called Satan Tortilla, and I played drums for them. One show only, but that happened.
Yeah,
That was kind of fun, but because it was a completely different band, different music,
right.
different style. It was just, I think we practiced like 2 times, and then we did the show,
Yeah,
and it was fine. It wasn't like difficult music.
right,
It's like me
right.
playing for AC/DC or something.
Right, right,
Not
yeah.
that mundane, but you know what I mean? It's like it didn't take a lot. It was just like learning the time changes, learning when the songs begin and
Right.
end, you know. But I love that time. I miss that time of musical freedom, and like, in a college situation, you could throw a rock and hit somebody who's a musician, and
Right.
it's just like you get bands everywhere. I was in like 9 bands at one time or another, all doing stuff, and just had a blast. Just loved
Yeah.
it.
No, that's a key thing too. If you are having, a lot of fun, it's not as taxing.
hmm
But low stress, high fun. That's a good ratio. And I feel like that probably would negate some of the tiredness. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It
yeah,
like if we're doing like Vindicator gigs, there's always some level of stress involved,
hmm
some level of self expectation, and that can kind of sap you mentally, which in turn is going to, take the energy out of you,
sure.
So
But you always play a good set, and I'm amazed that, like, last time I saw you, um, it was at Pittsburgh.
yeah,
It was at Metal Immortal, and it was the oh fuck it it was forget the your guitarist, his bass player from
oh,
his other band.
Billy,
Yeah, Billy. It was his bass player.
oh, Marv, yeah,
Yeah, came in and just did a killer job,
yeah,
and I'm always amazed that because you're a bass player, also plays in a lot of bands and ringworm and stuff like that.
right,
I'm just amazed at learning so much different music, different styles, different bands, and being able to pick up someone else's music that's not your own
right,
and learn it and play so well. I'm like, I'm impressed by that. So I thought that was great. Just a one-off show. Here comes this
yeah.
playing his bass. I'm like, fuck, you guys sounded good. You've always sounded good. I always enjoy coming to hear you. So I do hope that, not to put too fine a point on it, sometime down the road at some event, I get to see you play live again because I always enjoy it.
Well, this is sort of out there. It's just not the full. This aspect is on Facebook, so I can mention this. We are playing the Goldhorn Brewery in Cleveland on September 28th.
Oh,
Uh, now there's a lot of stuff around that'll be hopefully announce maybe today or Monday or something. I've been real bad about keeping the socials, active.
Yeah,
But
is this Vindicator or Volcana
yeah,
or
this is Vindicator. Now, I've loosely discussed, potential Volcana dates next year with Jeff, but they're all going to be on the West Coast if this
okay?
pans out. Um, because I would feel kind of, I would be remiss if I didn't do some live shows with that band. I mean, it's not a priority,
Yeah,
but just something that I would, like to do. And if it's done correctly, I think it's going to be, high fun, low stress ratio.
yeah.
So that'll be ideal. But yeah, as for this year, we do have one confirmed show, and it's 2024. Yeah, hopefully we
Yeah.
can play it.
What day is that?
Yeah,
September when?
yeah, it's Saturday, September
28th.
28th.
And that's at the what we're at, the brewery?
Goldhorn Brewery, yeah.
That's in Cleveland?
So they do like once a year, maybe sometimes twice a year. They do this heavy metal flea market. I've
Oh,
gone
okay.
like the last, several and vendor, just selling stuff, and it's always a good
So
time.
is it an indoor gig or is this outdoors?
Yeah, it's inside the brewery
Okay.
itself.
Well, we got to share it. We'll share it with everybody. I mean, we're doing it
Yeah.
now, but I certainly want to go and see you. I'll talk with the other guys and show up
Yeah,
and
there's a
see what we can.
it's right now we've got and we're opening the gig.
Okay.
Um, which is just by happenstance. We had a little bit of a mix up, and originally we were playing this show, and then we got overbooked by Macabre, which is when you have, multiple people in different bands. This is a
Yep.
thing that happens.
Mm-hmm.
So we shifted gears and we're going to play that gig, but then that fell apart for reasons. And so we kind of jumped back on this bill. So they'd already cemented everything there, so they were
So
like,
is
well,
Macabre playing too? Because Billy he plays both.
no,
Nope.
no, no,
Okay.
no. He's just doing this gig. So,
Okay.
um, yeah, so we'll be opening that show. So it's gonna be like, if you want to catch us, you got to get. I think we started. I think the show starts at 2. So
Oh,
because
okay. Wow.
it's an all day thing. There's I think
Nice.
6 bands on the bill. Lady Beast is headlining it.
Oh, sweet.
So
Yeah.
Deb will be present.
I don't, to me, I don't have the energy to be at all day fest anymore. I just,
Yeah,
it takes me it's just so late anymore. I just can't do it because I get
right,
up so
right.
early. I have an insomnia, so I don't sleep. So,
Yeah,
but that would be awesome. I mean, I'd love to see Deb anyway. She's just tremendous.
yeah,
Even if I don't get to see the set, it'd be, let's say hi. Yeah, it
yeah.
would be awesome.
Absolutely, absolutely. So
All
yeah,
right.
that should be fun.
Yeah, excellent. Well, that's great. I thank you for letting me know about that because
Yeah,
I'll put that in my calendar. I don't think I have any plans for that, but I'd love to see you. I'll talk with Chop and talk with Dread and come out. Dread doesn't do anything anymore. He's a hermit.
yeah,
And if Chop's not working, then I know everyone would like to come out and see you
yeah.
guys.
Absolutely.
Cool. Well, let's get this thing on the road. How's that?
Yeah, yeah. Let's do it.
You remember the great intro, right?
I do. I do.
All right, let's rock and roll.
This is Prometheum,
You want to listen to?
the heavy metal podcast, horror podcast. Oh, fucking hell. This is Prometheum, the heavy metal horror podcast. Fucking get in.
Click like and subscribe.
Ohio. Boom. Greatest hits.
Hydroplex. Hydroplex.
Click like and subscribe.
I am Montag, master of illusion. What goes up must come down, but not always.
Not always. Hey, what's up? I'm Wildcard. You've seen me sometimes on this gig, so here I am again, guest spotting it. There we go.
That's right. And you are watching heavy metal horror. Oh, kitties. That's right. That's right. We got a special guest because Chop is not here today. But you know what? When we say who needs Chop Top when we got Wildcard?
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you were able to make time to come in with your busy schedule, and I really do appreciate it. And it's nice to have you back on for this 5x4 episode.
Five
That
by
was
four.
5x4. This was Chop's idea too.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, it 5x4 is our top 5 songs by the Big Four, and I'm supposed to remind you
Yeah.
that
I'm
you have
trying to.
you have the perfect pick for this episode.
I didn't think this out real well, so it was
What?
not thought. It was not thought.
Hashtag wildcard strikes again. Oh, nice. Look at that. That's good. That'll be the screenshot. Oh, let me do that. Okay, perfect. Now we got it.
There we go. I know that the fistful of metal wasn't. You could just see the the Anthrax logo, but hey, I didn't drop them. That was the key thing.
No, it's good. It's good. Yeah, you are the vinyl king. I'm trying to remember the last album I bought on vinyl it was probably, it might have been, Exorcist Nightmare Theater. You know, I got, because it was like $2 or something. I'm like, well, I gotta
Yeah.
get this for $2, you know.
Right.
And at a flea market, I got Donny Osmond Disco Train and Attila. You know,
Nice.
Attila, the band that Billy Joel's first band.
Okay.
You know, which actually had some pretty good stuff on it. You know,
All right.
it's a lot of heavy keyboard stuff. It's kind of
Yeah.
funky, you know, late 60s funk, you know, early
No, I can.
70s. But the album cover is what struck me. I'm like, that's Billy Joel. He's like standing and like covered in like furs, and there's like like slabs of meat hanging behind them, like looking like Vikings. I'm like, two guys. I'm like, I gotta get this, man.
I feel like the cover may have slightly oversold the music that was on the LP.
Yeah, it's not as heavy as you want it to be. They have a song called Godzilla, which I wanted to be really good. They have a song called Wonder Woman that's you know, it's like, it's not a good album. But you know, compared to Donny Osmond Disco Train, you know, I mean, you
Yeah.
know what you're getting with Disco Train.
Right.
You know,
Right. There's no hiding that one.
No, but I used to put, I would have those as decoration in my dorm room, you know, when I was in college. I'm like, I gotta fucking put these up, like,
Yeah.
because no one in the world will have these albums, you know.
No one's gonna have these.
Yeah, and then the very first Escape Fetal Pigs album, in the very beginning, you hear this music to like one of the opening track on Donny Osmond Disco Train. You hear this kind of beat coming in with like these background singers, you know, and it's like introduces the Disco Train album. I'm like, I gotta have this, but I'm gonna do the voiceover. You know, like, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for that world famous campus band, the Escape Fetal Pigs. You know, I'm like, yeah, I
Nice.
gotta have that. I gotta have that. Oh, all right. Well, you know, our 5x4. So I think maybe the best way to do this, and I know Chop sent me his list. If I can remember to get to it, I will. I think we just take one band at a time and work our
Yeah,
way through the five. You
that'll
know,
work.
to try not to get too confusing. Let's start with Anthrax.
Perfect. Then
Do you want to go first, or would you like me to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. So Anthrax is kind of a harder, but not harder for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm obviously I do love me some Anthrax.
Yeah.
Because Anthrax out of the big four was the probably I don't understand why Anthrax wasn't bigger. Just based on tastes at the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, coming into it with Slayer and Megadeth, Metallica,
I
the
think
vocals.
Oh, sorry, man. I talked over you.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. I think with the vocals, like that stuff was kind of real fresh still, like that kind of harsh vocal. And people coming out of the 70s were used to melodic vocal lines. So that's why it was confusing. The Anthrax didn't really take off. You know, they had all the right pieces, parts, but they just kind of floundered. And out of the big four, I want to say, and this is a personal opinion, so no one needs to tar and feather me, but I think they're probably the least popular out of the big four. But so for me, I like, you know, all the Joey Belladonna stuff. I Sound of White Noise is okay, and that's where I stop with John Bush. I should check out. I just never got, you know, like
Stomp 442 is an excellent album.
yeah, see, I never listened to it just because I hated the name, and I was just like, nah, this isn't Joey Belladonna, and
yeah,
you know,
those first five tracks
yeah.
are killer, man. First 5 tracks.
Yeah, I do need to check it out. I think I have I didn't like that they did the re-recorded like best of thing with Bush, and so like overdoing some of the old stuff. But I mean, I guess to take that, you know, as it is, Joey Belladonna did retrack Armed and Dangerous. So
they did the same thing. So
yeah, so without further ado, most of my favorite Anthrax tracks come from, you know, spreading the disease among the living.
Yeah.
And if there's no like listing them from, you know, least favorite to most favorite in those 5, I that would be really hard. That would
I had to put them in an order. I did put mine in ranking order,
look at you,
but
man.
it's just it's just they're relative to one another. Like
Right.
it's hard because there were so many of these. I'm like, God, if it was a top 10, it'd be a lot easier to fit in all the songs I like. But you had to
Right.
you had to make some vicious cuts.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, let's see if I can kind of loosely do this. Spreading the Disease is my favorite Anthrax release.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna find my probably 1 through 3 on there. Obviously, like I Am the Law, that might be a number 4 for me because
Mhm.
again, I didn't think of it that way. But Among the Living and I Am the Law off of it's probably Among the Living, I Am the Law for
Mhm.
my number 4, number 5, number 4,
Mhm.
and then jumping over to Spreading the Disease. I don't know what it is about Spreading the Disease. I just like Scott Ian's writing on that record. I mean, it's not that it varied greatly throughout the years, but just kind of how he utilized chord structures and such was real different. Not so many like harmonies and like
Mhm.
sing. There wasn't a whole lot of like the new wave of British heavy metal influence with Anthrax. I feel like,
It
at
was
least
more
I
that
never,
hardcore. That
yeah,
hardcore
I never really
was
picked up
evident.
on it. Right?
Yeah.
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 So like Lone Justice. Oh man, Madhouse, Aftershock. I think that Lone Justice might be my favorite Anthrax song, to be honest. And now that I'm rattling off my mouth here, that might be number 1 for me.
All right.
With Aftershock being number 2. I mean, it's hard for me to narrow those down on these 2 records,
Sure.
but those are probably my top favorite, most played Anthrax songs. And that's not
Yeah.
saying much because I don't actually play them regularly,
Yeah.
to be fair. But if I come back, like we have a thumb drive that we take on vacation with us. It's just in the van, and because there's a USB port, so
Mhm.
you can load it up with MP3s or whatever.
Mhm.
And Spreading the Disease is one of the records that I ripped and put on there specifically because I can listen to the whole album, and I think like there really isn't a weak spot on the record. So that's why I'm drawing, most of my favorites from that particular record.
Yeah,
Now,
I get it.
let's hear everybody else's.
I think to comment on your earlier statement about why they're not as popular, I think it had a few things to do with people didn't know whether to take them seriously or not because of they
Yeah,
themselves they weren't dressed like rock stars. Scott Ian's wearing these baggy skater shorts,
right,
had guitars with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on it. He's a comic book
right.
fan, which is why I love that about them. That they're
Yeah,
just wearing shorts because that's what I did. When I played out, I wear baggy shorts. I just want to be comfortable.
yeah,
And the thrash parts were really fast. Like
yeah,
when you hear like Among the Living, it's just it's this, and I think people just weren't really quite sure in mainstream America what to do with them. And then you have songs like "I'm the Man," where they're bringing
yeah.
their rap roots and like it's
So
comedy.
that Right. I think
Yeah,
that
so
yeah,
I
the
think those
comedy
elements,
edge.
yeah, but I like that about them because to me they were like, look, we are having a good time,
Right.
and this is what we're doing. We're not taking ourselves so seriously, but doesn't mean that they don't take their music seriously,
Right, correct.
And I love that about them. But my 5, if you want to hear from mine, unless you
Yes.
had something you wanted to
No,
say
I
about
was just
that.
gonna say I do think that one of the big nails in the coffin early on was that bringing rap into it. It's still to this day, metalheads that just draws ire from them. Like, why did they do this?
Yeah, I
I
thought
don't
someone said it was
necessarily.
a joke. I'm like, no, it's not a joke. I think they're being true to their roots. I mean, they're from
Yeah,
New York. They got this. They got
right,
rap as part of who they are. They live in a multicultural city that it's part of the music scene for them, and they
right,
they're. I thought it was great bringing these two. I'm not a big rap fan, but I love that you have these two disparate kinds of music that can
right,
come together, and everyone's just like, look, man, we're gonna have a great time.
right. Yeah, I mean, I guess yeah, I like I'm the Man, but I mean, like, obviously it's not my favorite.
No, no,
I actually have the
it's what it
single
is.
too. They did
Yeah.
that single with I don't know, letters. The rap group just was like letters. What is it? I always think it's UB40, and I'm like, nope, it's
No,
not
no,
not red wine.
no, thankfully. That would have been
But
my death.
it's
That would have been my coffin. Like, oh.
UTFO. That's who
Mm.
it is. It's Anthrax and UTFO. They did it's just a 12-inch single. One of the songs is like SWAT, something about the SWAT, so it's like, cop songs, whatever.
Mm.
But I bought that and I didn't know what the hell it was, and I've never listened to it. And I'm seeing it pop up on Facebook a lot these days, being like, "Oh, this is a disaster."
Oh, no, I don't know about that one.
I mean, it probably sounds exactly what you'd anticipate,
Okay.
So
Yeah. Huh. Well, I like both eras of Anthrax. I like the John Bush years. I don't
Yeah.
think the music style changed significantly,
Yeah.
which I'm fine with. I don't mind that bands grow and change, and I understand that. That's not a problem. Never been an issue with me. But my number 5 is Antisocial. I
It's a
I
good song.
I love that song.
Now,
That's a
let me clear this up for me. That's a Tank cover, correct? Or
I
not
don't
Tank,
know. I don't
Trust.
know.
It's Trust. The band is called Trust. That's actually a cover,
Oh, okay.
just so
I
you
think
know.
isn't Trust the band that Nico McBrain played in, the French band,
Ah, see,
before
yeah,
he became an
yes,
Iron Maiden.
yes, yes.
Yeah. I don't know if it was a cover. I just thought this is a really good song.
Yeah, that's a cover, and it
bec-
works very well for
because they
them.
covered I Got the Time too,
Right.
which is again, great cover.
Mhm.
Yeah, I just love that. And that was the era where big on MTV, and
Yeah.
again, you were see a live concert, they're having a good time. To me, it just embodied Anthrax because I've seen the first time I saw Anthrax, uh, I think it might have been, God, was it the first time? First time was with Joey Belladonna, or what was it? No, the first time with John Bush. I can't remember because it was Anthrax and it was Cannibal Corpse and the Misfits.
Okay.
Um, but it might have been the first time might have been with John Bush. Then I saw them again opening. It was Clash of the Titans. So Alice in Chains opened, then it was Anthrax, Megadeth, and Slayer. Big
Okay.
thing. And that was on the Time tour, 92.
Okay.
Okay. Um, so yeah, Antisocial. And then the song off of uh my number 4 is Only, which I really liked off Sound of White Noise. I like that
Okay.
track because I do like the John Bush era. It's a different kind of chugging kind of style, and I just thought that was really good. And then number 3 is off of Stomp 442, which you need to listen to at least the
Okay.
first 5 tracks.
Yeah.
Random Acts of Violence. That's the first track off of that album. It's just a great track. Those first 5, they're gonna kick you in the nuts, man. It's good stuff. Not kidney stone kick in the nuts, but a good way. Number 2 for me is Indians because I do love that track.
That's
I
a good
just
song. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good song.
we have a variant on the hot seat game. We did an episode called Hot Seat One Shots where we're changing it. Like instead of us telling you a band and saying, give me your favorite album by that band, we were saying, okay, I'm gonna give you the band name, and then you've got to convince someone to give them a listen to who's never listened to them in one song. What one song would you play to convince someone to listen to more of that? And so that was my pick, was Indians,
Okay.
because it really embodies, I think, some of that style, that thrash. But I
Yeah.
love that halftime change where they just really slowed it down
Right.
and gotten that really moshy, heavy pick.
Right. Yeah.
And then number 1 is Among the Living, because to me that embodies Anthrax pretty heavily to me, like the
Yeah,
classic
absolutely.
Joey
Yep.
Belladonna era. That album is a great album. They've been hit and miss. Volume 8 was okay. And I love worship music. I think that's really good. And
Yeah.
some of the newer stuff, really good. But that era of Anthrax is kind of what made me like them. Like,
Right. Right.
and that was like the first really thrash band that I really got into. Um, like these guys just have a really interesting sound, and I like what they write about, and I love their music. And so,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, there's my top 5. Um, I think Chop sent me his top 5. Let me see. Yeah. For Anthrax, his Chop's top 5 are Random Acts of Senseless Violence. Look at that. Room for One More, Madhouse, Among the Living, and Indians. Hey, look at that.
Nice.
All
What
right.
you guys call each
Look at
other?
us. Look at us. It's like we're an old married couple
Yeah.
finishing each other's sentences. Excellent, excellent. Yeah. Now, how many times have you seen Anthrax?
Um,
Can you even count them?
I've seen Joey Belladonna twice when he was
Okay.
doing the solo stuff.
Oh, okay.
And then I've only seen Anthrax once. I'm a weird guy when it comes to live bands. Like I'll see them once and I'm good. Like, like I'm not like hungry to go to the next gig. I'm like, I
Yeah.
did it. I did the thing. I don't know why I'm like that. But there are certain bands like that I would definitely, at least these days, seeing Queensryche live. I got to get to another show
Really?
because
Wow.
yeah,
Okay.
because of that Todd, was it Todd Latour? Is
Todd
that his
Latort.
name?
Yeah, Latort. Yep.
Oh my gosh, dude, he sounds just like Jeff Tate,
Yeah.
and they killed it. And we saw him in there. They did the EP and all of the Warning.
Yeah.
So we only got to take like I want to see them doing like the best of like play all the hits because and a buddy of mine went to a show in Alabama, dude. They played every song I want to hear off Operation
Wow.
Mindcrime, and I was like, dude, I gotta see this guy do Operation Mindcrime stuff.
Yeah.
You know, because he did Empire as an encore, you know, and that was fantastic too. Just let me hear the hits off of those two records, then I'm good because they really proved themselves. So, but yeah, Anthrax only one time we saw Anthrax when Joey Belladonna reunited with them
Oh,
at the
okay.
Agora. That was a terrific show, really fun show.
Nice. Nice.
That was in the ballroom too, so it got you got smashed in the front row pretty
Yeah, I
quick.
hit it.
Really
I know
messed up.
they've completely redone the ballroom in the theater. It's been rebuilt because I know Nile is coming to the Agora.
Yeah,
Like, and I like, I'm considering going to them, and but we'll see how things are going.
yeah,
But yeah, I've seen them 2, 3 times. Each era, which was nice. But
yeah.
yeah, they're a good band. So, all right, next one, the band that sounds like Vindicator, Megadeth, and let's hear your Megadeth picks.
All right. Now, see, this is a hard one for me because my favorite tracks from Megadeth vary greatly. If it just from time to time. It just depends on the year
Mhm.
where my interest will shift. So currently, my top favorite tracks are. I would be, you know, I would be a little sad if I didn't include, you know, new. So we're gonna start with the Sick, the Dying, and Dead, which is their newest effort. I can't get enough of it. I want to make sure, yeah, Dogs of Chernobyl. So that track on this record, if you've not heard it,
I've not
and
heard
oh
Megadeth. I've not listened
man,
to anything they've done in a decade.
that
So
new dude,
I've
that
kind of just
guy,
lost interest, like
they got better. They're like a fine
really.
wine.
Okay.
There is only one album, and this is coming from a Megadeth fan. I'm a I'm hardcore fan. If you couldn't tell,
Yeah.
just in how I write and everything I've
Right. You're
done, and
riffing. Right. Yeah.
huge influence on me. So of course I'm biased. I have all the full lengths, and there's only one full length that I put on and was like, this is bad. And
Which one was that one?
it's Super Collider.
Oh, okay. Yeah. By then
Now,
I was checked out.
according to Dave Mustaine, he didn't write that record. That was written mostly by previous guitarist.
Mm.
Oh, I can't. His name's slipping my mind. He was in Jag Panzer for a minute.
Oh.
I can't remember what it is. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but I can
I'll
tell
talk
you
with
that
LS Mark.
that particular album is really not
Okay.
good. There's like a slew of guests on it, like, and it's just
Oh.
it really misses the mark. I put it on, and I never put it back on after that
Okay.
first listen, which is something I don't do with any Megadeth record.
Yeah, in the 90s they started leaving me, like when they were doing like Hidden Treasures and those albums I thought were kind of like, they're just kind of leaving. Um, and I just kind of lost interest. And I keep on hearing these albums come out. And it's like,
Yeah,
I'm
man.
listening, like I'm listening to other things. I mean,
Right,
I like
yeah.
the band, but it's like it never kind of dawned on me to like, you should go
I
find
don't
this record and give it a try.
I don't know how in the world the guy still writes music. And it's still the amount of rehash that you get. Like if you're talking about Annihilator and Jeff Waters, you'll find that Jeff Waters reuses riffs constantly in for the past 20 years. It's just been, oh, there's a riff from Allison L, there's a riff from Never Never Land. And it just kind of is I mean, it's his riffs, he can do whatever he wants with them, but you kind of go,
I've heard that.
With
Yeah.
Megadeth, Dave's like reused like two riffs in his entire catalog, and you're talking he's on like 15 records at this point in his career, and not to include the MD45 stuff he did, and the first three Metallica records. This guy just doesn't rewrite riffs. I don't know how he manages. Heroin's a hell of a drug, kids.
Well, I know
So
he's
yeah,
clean
so
and sober. He's been that way for a long
yeah,
time,
and
so
he's
good for
still
him.
and with that particular record, that dude was going through chemo while he was tracking that. He'd go get chemo done and then go to the studio. Like, who the fuck does that? Like, you don't even have to like the guy or his music, but that level of work ethic, man, you talk
Yeah,
to anybody that gets chemo, they go home and they go to bed.
right. They want to vomit. Yeah.
This guy's like, fuck this, I'm going to the studio. Got some albums to do, got some music to make. Holy shit. And
Wow.
like I said, the whole album is very good. I think I like it a little more than the previous effort in Dystopia. This is the first one with Dirk on drums. He kills it.
He's a
Um,
great drummer. We're hoping to have him on. We met him at the midnight show. You were
yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah.
You know, I'm sure he was being pleasant, but I told him about the show and I asked him if he would want to come on. He's like, "Oh yeah, yeah." So I still want to reach out to him sometime.
Yeah,
Dirk,
absolutely.
I know they're
Absolutely.
touring right now with Megadeth, but I'd love to have him on because
Yeah,
you know I
yeah,
like the
yeah.
stuff he did with Soilwork. You know, it's a
Hmm.
great band.
Yeah.
Um,
No, he's a hell of a drummer,
yeah,
man.
oh
And
yeah, he is. He's great.
probably, like, I mean, I mean this is he's probably the best drummer that Megadeth's had since Nick Menz. And Nick Menz is going to be my favorite
I was gonna
drummer
say
of all.
Nick Menz is
Fucking dude was
yeah,
insane.
he was my favorite drummer. Just gone too soon. But
Yep. So
yeah.
Dirk is like the next best thing. And Dave's had some good drummers in that band, but
Yeah.
this guy is on a whole different level. So leading, this is going to be so again, and this is a newer effort. I think it's 2001. I think is when United Abominations came out.
Yeah,
This
I think
album,
I heard like one track from that, and that was like, okay, I heard the
yeah,
one track, maybe I'll ride the first track,
this
and then it never,
this
just
one
never
did
went
it
back to
big
it.
for me. So this is Megadeth coming out of, they did Cryptic Writings, which is where I got my start with Megadeth, and
Okay. Oh,
I
really?
really
Oh,
love Cryptic
wow.
Writings. That was the
You came
first
in
album.
late.
Yeah, man, 15. I was 15 years old when that record came out. And I think I've told you the story before how my dad was like, it was my birthday. You can go buy a CD. We're going to take you to dinner. We'll take you over to Best Buy, kids, where you used to be able to buy albums
Yeah.
and you can get a CD. So naturally, I just ran straight for, for Reload because everybody in my class was listening to Metallica,
Yep.
and it's good. It's good rock and roll. It's not Metallica,
No.
but if you're a Metallica, you're not going to rebrand like you're making millions of dollars, so you're not going to change the band name. You certainly are going to make the logo lamer, but hey. But having said that, I went for Reload. Everybody was listening to it. I liked the music on it. I really do. So I grabbed that and I was like, you guys think I could get another one, Mom and Dad? They're like, yeah, you can get another CD. So I'm like, okay, let's look around. Let's see what they got. My dad comes walking up with Cryptic Writings and he's like, hey man, I've heard a single off of this. This is a pretty good record. And I'm going, and even at the time I knew how much my dad loathed thrash. Like he hated it.
Hmm.
And I was like, this is confusing because this is a thrash band. So what kind of ploy is this? So I got it. And I listened to Reload like once, and then I put that Cryptic Writings in, and it just stayed in my CD player. And that's what sparked it right there. The riffs, the vocal melodies, and how he structured his vocal melodies. Because Dave's not a great singer, but holy
Yeah.
shit, the guy knows how to sing now. And so they did that record, loved it.
His voice is,
And
people who listen to him, his voice is kind of grating, like in the way that Geddy Lee's younger voice was.
right, right,
It's
right.
high. It's weird. It's all decently. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah. And he
they,
gets just
yeah,
like Geddy Lee. I mean, they find a place and it works. So
yeah.
like Dave's voice actually got better as his career went on because he got out of the nasally stuff and
Yeah,
he
and
was
now
able
well, he
to
can't
like
sing as high, so he's got to change the way he sings.
right,
And
and it sounds
yeah,
cool as fuck, man. Um, especially with this last one, like maybe it was Dystopia. He was having like he had throat cancer, some kind of throat
right.
cancer. So that shit got like radiated and fried. So his voice is even different now, and he still sounds good.
Yeah,
So anyhow, they were coming out of Cryptic Writings into Risk, and a lot of people fucking hate Risk, and I was able to buy Risk like shortly after it came out, and I was like, this is kind of different from Cryptic Writings. It's not as heavy, but I still liked the music on it. I thought the production was good, songwriting was clever. Dave was reclaiming some of his old Metallica riffs, which I thought was fun. Um, and then though I did buy The World Needs a Hero when it came out, and I was very disappointed with that release. Still like it, but I was like, production wasn't as good, songwriting wasn't there. It's like this is kind of silly. And then they came out, then the band broke up. Like there was an announcement, Megadeth was done. That was a whole like Dave Mustaine signed all the rights over to Elfson and then double backed on, he reneged on it and Elfson got real pissed and there was that feud and then Megadeth was a thing again without Elfson and they did Blackmail the Universe and everybody we bought that like because the exchange used to I don't know if it still does this but an album came out on a certain day and you had to go that day to get it unless you went to the exchange they would put them out the night before. So we always knew we could get it a day ahead of its release at the exchange so we ran up the exchange we grabbed it's like me and my buddies and everybody grabbed a copy we took it home and listened to it and okay, Megadeth's back. These riffs are mean, songs like Kick the Chair and shit like that. And So they were back on an upward trajectory, which was fantastic to see. Then they dropped United Abominations, and this album is the meanest thing that they've released in probably the past 10 years. Politically charged, it's everything, just doom and gloom thrash. Fucking awesome. So on this, I know that was a real long way to describe what my favorite tracks are. And my dumbass with sunglasses can't even read them on the back of this. So Sleepwalker on this track has always been one of my favorite tracks and will always be one of my favorite tracks because it's got, and this is where one of the Megadeth rehash riffs occurs, I believe, is in that song with the and I think that's something off of Rust in Peace. Might
Probably
be in
Take No Prisoners,
Take No
maybe?
Prisoners. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's, and so he kind of rehashes that, but the song, oh my gosh, the riffs, man, the riffs this guy comes up with, you're just, where the fuck did that come from? So Sleepwalker, I don't know what would have been a single off of this record that you might have heard, but
I remember hearing Blackmail the Universe, like the first track or something. Again, I gave it a taster, but now you make me want to go back and listen to these albums
no,
because
you,
I've
yeah,
got
you
them.
gotta,
I just haven't listened to them.
yeah, check
You
them
know,
out. So
I had
like,
checked out of all of the bands, all of these bands.
hmm,
I have just checked out because I've been listening to other things.
right.
And it's not like I don't like them, but like other things, there's a lot more music to explore. And I think that's what I've been doing is just exploring new music,
Yeah, absolutely.
but
It's
I'll
easy.
have
I
to go, I
haven't
will go back to these. I'll check them
there.
out.
And I find myself doing the same thing, man. I haven't listened to an Iron Maiden record all the way through since, and I only got through half a Book of Souls before I just gave up on Maiden. I
Yeah,
haven't
that one.
listened to
Yeah.
anything from Maiden since because,
Senjutsu is a better album than Book of
yeah,
Souls. But it's laborious at times, you know.
that's my problem with it. Like, I don't want to. This
Yeah,
is like being in.
it's like I want them to be the songs to be better.
Yeah,
And
I just
I know
I
they're
want the.
doing the prog thing, and
I
it's
don't like that.
great.
I just want the youthful energy back. I just give me the chug
It's
riffs,
hard when you
and
get, and they've got a band that they're all like 70 years old.
I know they can
Um,
do it because they still do great live.
Live though, they're great. That's the
Like, that's
thing.
what I'm saying. Like,
That's
you can't be that good and energetic live and not play
I
this
think
shit.
that's
Come
they're
on.
having fun. They're having a good time. But you know, I look at different eras of Maiden, like Rush.
Yeah,
Like,
right,
the middle era of Rush, like once they went heavy keyboards, it took them a long while to recover.
right.
Like once you get to Counterparts, like they rediscovered they're a rock band again, and then they went better album by album, like
Yeah.
Test for Echo, but then when
I
you
didn't
hear,
mind Test for Echo.
yeah, it's got some good tracks, but
Yeah.
then you get, the Vapor Trails, which I think
Vapor
is
Trails fucking blows me away.
phenomenal album. I love Snakes and Arrows, and what a way to finish with Clockwork Angels. Like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
now, so, but
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
hey,
I
I'm
get
not
it.
gonna,
Every
I'm
band
like,
goes up
I
and
can sit,
down.
yeah, I can sit there and be like, I don't like Modern Maiden. It
Well,
certainly isn't
you want
hurting
to
their
join?
bank accounts.
We have yet to finish our Rush deep dive. We never did finish when Dreadbull left. But if you want to join us for the Rush deep dive, I'll let you know what albums we're gonna do.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, no, I totally get it. So I'll listen
Yeah.
to these Megadeth
And
albums.
I like that. I do the same thing. I haven't listened to Annihilator in a long time. One of my
Yeah.
favorite bands. I don't like any of the vocalists he's had. He did a couple where he was doing vocals again, Jeff Waters, which is cool. I like Jeff Waters' vocals, but I would listen to the singles would come out and I'd be like, this just ain't doing it for me, man.
Yeah,
And I
because
wouldn't
it's
give it a
not where
shot.
you're at. That might be a really good album, but you might be in a different place,
Right.
headspace, and
Right. So
that's
you
what
gotta
it
listen.
is.
There's gonna be deep cuts that you probably appreciate,
Yeah,
but the single didn't sell it for you. I mean, I know you can't put your best song as a single. You don't want to blow your load right then and there. You have, like you gotta give them something to look forward to. So
yeah,
a single should be a taster, not your best
right.
track, not your
And
worst track
often,
on the
sometimes
record.
it doesn't even, and not indicative of the best parts of the album. Like I
Right,
think of like
correct.
"Can I Play with Madness," which I think is the weakest track on that album.
Right.
But fuck, I love Seventh Son. I think it's their Maiden's greatest achievement musically. But anyhow, we're getting away off
Yeah,
track.
man. Like we're like snakes. We're like snakes when we talk. We're all over the fucking
It's great.
place.
No, I love listening to you talk about your music and your love for it. That's why I love having you on the show. So
Rambles.
did you give us your 5?
Nope.
I,
So here we are. Here we are.
okay.
Rust in Peace contains, again, this is another album where it's like, oh, how do I pick two?
Yeah.
But I want to say Holy Wars is probably my number 3. And I know that sounds kind of wild, with Tornado of Souls probably being my number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Because, well, I am going to take that back. I do love Tornado of Souls because it has one of my favorite solos of all time ever on it. So I'm just gonna stick with Holy Wars. Now, who doesn't, that
Good stuff.
song was like otherworldly.
Yeah.
No one did anything like that. They come out with these Middle
No.
Eastern riffs and
Yeah.
Marty Friedman comes out of nowhere and he's doing all these exotic licks, man, that no one was like ready for.
And all
Certainly
the
not in
time changes,
thrash.
you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
I love
that
watching reactions to it because people are like, what the fuck is this? They're like, the time changes and all the
yeah.
it's a phenomenal song.
Yeah, that song, it's
I
otherworldly.
get it.
So
I get
coming
it.
down to my two and my one comes off a countdown. I
Okay.
fucking love this record. I think they did a reunion show. They played this in its entirety. I regret not seeing that, because this might be one of the bigger influences on me because I could never quite achieve what they did on this record. Now, a lot of people don't like the fact that they were doing like the blues infused thrash. I
Mhm.
fucking love it, man. So you've got like for me in particular, it's hard for me, but I know like maybe this is going to get kind of muddled, but High Speed Dirt might be my number
High
one, but
Speed
it might be
Dirt's
my number
I
two.
like it. It's a good track.
Fucking
It's a good album.
love that song, man.
Yeah.
Like
And it doesn't
it
sound like Megadeth. That's the thing.
right, 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 right,
It's got a
right.
really great riff. It's fun, but it's that it sounds like that album, but it's a different sound from Megadeth. It's not
So
just
it is.
it's not
I
like ancient Megadeth,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Wake Up Dead and those which are harsher songs. It's
Right.
a smoother, more polished sound.
Yes, it's very sharp. It's very sharp. That record to me is very, very, very sharp. They were just on all cylinders. Now, there's some lesser songs on there, like Sweating Bullets was the single. That's because people
Yeah,
could
it's
wrap
okay.
their
Right.
brain around it. It was
Yeah.
easy to digest. But like I think my number one Megadeth song is Skin on My Teeth, and it has been for a long
Ah,
time.
okay.
That riff, the song, the scratching on the strings part. Yeah,
Yeah.
man, it's just a mean song. I love it. I it's got to be my
Yeah.
number one.
Well, that's great. You mentioned a lot of the ones that are on my list. So actually, Skin of My Teeth is my number 5. I just for all those same reasons. I love that. I love that track of that album. My number 4 might surprise you. Use the Man.
Oh,
I
nice.
I love that song. I
It
love the
is a
messaging,
good song.
and
It is a really good song.
it doesn't sound like Metallica or Megadeth rather, but it is a
Right, right, right.
great song, and I
Right.
love the messaging behind it. And I'm like, yeah, this is a standout on that album,
Yeah.
you know. Number 3, Reckoning Day. And
Okay.
I love right before it gets to the chorus. The chorus, it's okay, but I love when it takes a step up in
Yeah.
key right before the chorus. It's like, oh,
Right.
we're going up in a key. I love that change. Um, and again, a lot of opening tracks. To me, that I love that first track. It tells what this album's going to be. But
Yeah,
Use the Man
absolutely.
is definitely a deep track. But my first 2 you've already mentioned. Number 2 is Tornado of Souls because it's just a fucking ripper, and I love that
It
album. Rust in
absolutely
Peace
is.
is my favorite Megadeth album.
Yeah.
Is the one I go to over and over again. It just to me that epitomizes Megadeth for me.
Right,
Number
right,
1,
right.
Holy Wars. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, that's just like you just can't get really much any better than that. But you have convinced me, Wildcard, that I need to go back and do my due
Check.
diligence and
Yeah,
check
just
the
check it.
last 8 or so Megadeth albums.
Check him out, man. And he just keeps making music and it's just not bad. Like you gotta like you think there would be more Super Colliders in this. And to be fair, I need to listen to Super Collider again, but it never I know you know what I'm talking about. Most
Yeah.
audiophiles know what I'm talking about. When you put an album on, if it doesn't stick with you after and nothing sticks with you on that first spin, the likelihood of you coming back is very low.
Yeah. Like
So
you
something,
might come
just
back to
even
it at,
one
right.
song. Oh yeah, I love this one. The rest of the album's weak. So you start coming back, then you start appreciating, the nuances and the deep cuts and things like that. And you're like, okay, this album's not bad. It's not great. It's not
Yeah.
bad. But it didn't stick with me. I put that on. I was just like,
Yeah.
consistently took it out and put it on the shelf and has not come out of that case
I get it. I
since the
get it.
day I got it.
I'll dig deep into my jukebox and pull it out. Yeah. Another band that I just haven't really listened to in a long time is the next one on our list, Metallica. You're like, Montag, why are you doing a 5x4? I said, well, this was Chop's idea. I think we have experienced fatigue. Like we'd mentioned before in other episodes, you get to a point like fatigue, Iron Maiden fatigue, Metallica to fatigue.
Right.
And a lot of these bands I've had some level of fatigue. Like, okay,
Absolutely.
but it's also being exposed to there is so much, as you well know, you really got me started on this underground metal stuff, which I was so ignorant of. I just not even aware of the depth and breadth of this. And now I'm just kind
Yeah,
of
it's
digging
big.
into it, and it is like, oh my God, there's so much great music out here.
Yes.
That's what gets me excited, because I was kind of in the doldrums musically. I'm like, other than like bands like Opeth and Ginger, which were really exciting
Right.
to me, but even the non-mainstream stuff, like totally digging, like, oh God. And on Bandcamp Fridays, like, yeah, that's when I'm gonna go buy these albums because I
Yeah.
want to support them,
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
And like, yeah, I want to hear new music, and also getting to know these people that you brought on the show, which I want to thank you again.
Oh,
You were
no.
instrumental in calling in all your favors and bringing so many great people for
Not
us
a
to talk
problem.
to that we've maintained friendships with and relationships with. So, but anywho, let's talk about Metallica or Metallica. Um,
Metallica.
Metallica, your 5 Metallica songs.
This is a tricky one too. So for me, I like the first 5 records, and again, I do like Load and Reload. Saint Anger was an album, same thing. I put this on and I was like, this is awful. And I didn't even buy it. Somebody else had it. We listened to it. I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
thank God I didn't buy
yeah,
that
right.
trash heap. So much wrong with it, man.
Yeah,
And I remember I framed this. Cleveland, I still have it somewhere. Cleveland Scene did an article on Saint Anger, and one of the things that stuck out on about it, the art or the review rather, was that it was like Metallica's wearing ill-fitting clothes and trying to convince people otherwise or something. It got me so good
yeah,
because Lars was coming out and he did this a couple times since I've been following Metallica. This was the first time I seen him do it or heard him do it rather. Saint Anger was the next Master of Puppets.
oh, really?
And I was like,
Ooh,
"Oh, cool. Yeah, let's hear it." And then they played that song with TikTok in it, and I was like,
yeah.
"This isn't Master of Puppets at all. You're a liar." Or I was like, yeah, it's like,
Yeah, it's got its own unique sound, and that snare drum sound,
oh,
it's annoying, you know. It
it's
it
grating. Yeah,
it is, but what I found about that album, it's not terrible. Like, there are songs that are good. I like Saint
yeah.
Anger. I like the song Saint Anger, and
Stanger, that's what we called it.
there are some really bad songs on that album. But what it is, like, every song is about the same length, and it gets really redundant. It sounds like
That's
repetitious,
what I'll tell you. That's
and
Metallica's trademark these days.
it's like, oh, we're gonna write 6 or 7 8-minute songs, and we're gonna have
Yes,
all the same parts.
they love.
Yeah,
Yes, exactly.
yeah, and I'm
So
like,
they
oh,
got
it's so boring.
somewhere in their heads they were like, let's write songs that are as simple as Kill 'Em All, but we want the lengths of And Justice for All.
Yeah,
No, you
yeah,
can't do that, man. That's what's wrong. So Stanger wasn't that good to me. I did like Death Magnetic. I thought, okay,
yeah.
this one's not bad. You
It felt
almost
like
have
a
the right
return
logo.
to their roots, and then their last album, which I've only heard 2 tracks from. Again, another return. Like, okay, now they're
See, for
getting back to
me,
form.
I liked Death
Not
Magnetic,
not the not
and
the 72, not the or
I
the
liked
72
Hardwired too.
seasons hard.
I thought
Maybe it was
Hardwired
Hardwood.
was
I think I
uh
got one of them off there. I forget which one
now
it is.
72 seasons. Oh, what a trash heap. It's another trash heap. It's
Yeah,
just
we talked
it's
about that one on
weak.
our like
Then
bad
they do.
albums.
Why do they do the things they do? Like number one, these songs are mediocre as fuck. They are not good. I almost was into when I heard like the first couple seconds of the hell's that track called Aeon Flux or whatever the hell
Yeah.
it's called. Uh, I was like, it's a cool riff, and then I had to listen to it for 7 more minutes, and I was like, there are 3 parts in this song, and it's a 7-minute song.
Yeah.
That's not
3
that's not
parts
how
are
you
great when you got a 2.5-minute song.
exactly. That's not guys. What are you doing? Well, you need to fire your yes men and hire some new ones because they're telling you this stuff is awesome and it sounds like garbage.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
not good.
I don't know. I really didn't like 72 seasons. But I did like the previous 2 efforts. They're just see Metallica's really consistent, super hit and miss. This
Yeah.
is why I always look and I'm going, people are like Metallica's better than Megadeth, and I'm like, I don't know about that.
Megadeth's more consistent.
Yeah, like they're very, very
And
consistent.
Metallica got big because that at the time that was like the first really big metal band. There wasn't much out there
I
in the
give I
mainstream.
give I give Lars a lot of credit in how he handled Metallica's success. It was all him. It
Yeah,
was him
he
driving
was,
that band,
yeah,
man,
and
getting
I
them on
don't get the
tours
hate for him as a drummer. He has
neither do I.
simplified things as a drummer, but he's a really good drummer.
Yeah,
I mean, some of those riffs, even on Saint Anger, like, and those double bass riffs,
yeah.
he is not playing as technically complicated stuff as he used to, but none of them
Right.
are.
I,
I can't fault him for that. These guys are in their
Right.
60s. Who gives a fuck? You know,
right,
they're
right.
another band that puts on a really great live show,
Yeah, they were
and they
fun.
play 2.5 hours a night, just
Yep.
breaking their fucking balls for everybody. And I liked the fact that they went through the crisis and came out the other end like better people.
Right.
You know, I'm sure there's still some ego issues, but I mean, she's Lars was 16 when Kill 'Em All came out, or something stupid like Jesus Christ. Of course, you're a
Right.
teenager, you know, and everyone goes through that shit. But
Right.
I get
Yeah, I
it.
mean they deserve their
Yeah,
success. They really do.
it's just a band that I liked for a long
Yeah.
time but now there's just so much more to like. It's just like
Right, it's
I'm
hard.
more
It's
into
hard.
I'm pulled in different directions, and it has nothing to do with the quality of
Right.
music. It just I'm not giving it a chance because I've heard enough of their after like Black album. Like,
Right.
really?
Right.
Because they pinnacled to me. They peaked at Injustice for All,
Right, correct.
and
So
then
yeah,
they went
so
down
yeah,
into the shitter,
exactly.
load and
See, like
reload. I'm like, what the
I
fuck
even
is
like
this?
I like the Black Album, but I understand that what level of departure it was. I know why
Yeah,
people hate it. Yeah, I absolutely get it.
yeah,
And for me, like I really find myself, you know, sticking with the first three.
yeah,
That's me.
yeah. And I can't tell
Even
you
with
the last time I listened to those three albums. I
yeah,
mean, it decades.
I come
But
back to these, especially Master of Puppets.
Master
Master
of
of
Puppets I
Puppets is
did for our Slugfest.
very big influence on me in terms of
But
because it
it
was
probably
like
was college since I listened to and Kill 'Em All, or
right,
maybe right in my 20s. That
right.
might have been it
Yeah. So
because
I
there's
come
just
back.
more to listen to.
I do come back
Yeah,
to these, you know,
but
not
those are
like a
great
lot,
albums like
but yeah,
Phantom Lord, Whiplash.
right,
I mean, but one of my tracks is off of those first albums, which is nice because I do appreciate and I remember like
right,
some of those songs. Like those are really good songs.
right,
It's just not
exactly.
an album that I listen to. It's like
Right,
but I'm not going to fault them because I'm not the one listening to them. You
right.
know,
So yeah, so for me, I know my number one for sure.
okay,
I probably would say like it took me a minute to listen to Kill 'Em All and really get into it. And when I realized what it was and what it meant, like in terms of music and metal in general, I really started appreciating it more. So like obviously Seek and Destroy is probably my number five. Just because it was like the first technical song I ever learned. If you can call it
okay,
technical, you know, like that was probably the most technical thing I ever learned. But you know, Jump in the Fire was another one I learned. There's my three and four, or my five and four, sorry.
okay.
With Jump in the Fire again, learning those it was early Dave Mustaine riffs
Yeah.
probably helped me, you know, along with my musical career.
Hmm.
Now here's a fun one. One of my number three is probably I think is it Escape again with my sunglasses I can't see.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
so Escape, dude, they hate that song. I love it because it just doesn't. There's melody in it.
Yeah.
It's like here's a thrash band, and that guy's singing a melody, and like I know, yeah, Joey Belladonna did that on every Anthrax
Yeah.
record, but for Metallica, they
It
were
wasn't
doing
their
like
style,
that
right?
wasn't their
Yeah.
thing, and that's
Yeah.
why they hated it. They hated it because like they didn't like that James Hetfield's like singing that chorus, but
Yeah.
I fucking love it because of that. Like I
Because
love
now
it.
he does a lot of that singing. You hear that all over St.
I
Anger.
can't. I wish that
St.
I
Anger. He's just doing
man,
all that kind of
he
singing.
I don't like how he does stuff now. I just wish that I know he can't. He probably can't. I know he hurt his voice at one point, which is
Yeah.
one of the reasons his vocal styling's changed because he did blow his voice out because he wasn't like warming up and shit. But I would rather hear him sounding more like he did like on the Black album than
Okay.
modern James Hetfield with the like country sensibility in his voice. Like,
I
come
like how
on,
he
dude.
smokes cigars before a show to get his voice all ready.
Is
You
that why
know,
he's doing that?
I know, I don't know. I just like that he smokes
That's funny.
cigars, and I would have him on a show just to talk about cigars. So James, if you're listening, I want to know what cigars you like to smoke. Let's talk. I'm a cigar fan. Let's go. Um,
Number one. Wait, what am I on? Yeah, I got two on this one,
okay,
right? So two and one. So Battery's gonna be my number
okay,
two.
yeah,
Oh man. Intro builds it up and it's just bam, Battery in your
it's a
face.
great song.
Number one, and this is one of my probably top 10, 20-ish favorite songs of all time, Damage Incorporated.
Yeah, yeah,
That fucking song is brutal as shit.
yeah. It
And
is. What a way to finish an album.
so yeah, it's a great closer. That picking part in the center I fucking love. I love that kind of shit because that's why like Iced Earth was a big influence on me.
Yeah.
In that picking part. But like people couldn't play that, I could play that. Like I'm a shitty guitar player, but I can do the
All you need is 12 frets. I remember you said you just played the first top 12 frets. That's it.
and man, I'm telling you, man, dude, that picking and that's a huge influence on me. Like
Sure.
that structure, it's not like the most complex thing, but the picking's kind of tricky.
Yeah.
And it sounds brutal, man. And I love mean songs. It's a mean song. So there's
Yeah.
my number one.
Excellent. Again, your number one is my number 5, Damage Inc. I love that song. So I totally get it. Number 4, it's one of my only more modern Metallica songs. That was Just Your Life.
Okay.
I think that's a really again a return to classic Metallica. In it's long, but it's got enough parts to say this reminds me of X or this reminds me of this,
Right.
and it's reminiscent of that sound without being necessarily imitative.
Right.
And I'm like, okay. To me, they've reinvigorated. Like makes me want to almost listen to it, almost listen to the album. It's like
Right.
because the number of years they went with like shit after shit after shit after shit.
Yeah.
Like, nah, I'm done. But I'm glad that they've returned, and I don't mind. I'm not upset that they've succeeded and they sold out.
Right.
People say, "Oh,
Right.
you sold out." Like, yeah, and Lars is like, "Yeah, we sell out every night."
Right.
Uh,
Right. Right.
hey, good for them. I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
great. I listened to the Black Album. I didn't like it. There, it was like, and I had reload and reload. I'm like, oh, whew. It just, I listened to them like, no, no, I can't force it
Yeah.
down my gullet and say this is good. I have
Right.
had it because it was new, but now that there's so many other new things, I don't have to worry
Right.
about it. So that was number 4. Number 3, Dyer's Eve.
That's good.
Like Damage Inc. To me, that last track on Injustice for All is fucking heavy as brutal as fuck.
Yeah.
That constant double bass, but then it slows down. You get that halftime, and the
Right.
lyrics are so powerful and intense. It's just
Yeah.
really, really strong. Number 2, Creeping Death. I
Yeah. Yeah.
love
So
that song. That may be one of my favorite old Metallica songs.
you
And
know that was an Exodus song, right?
no,
Yeah,
no,
Exodus wrote that. Well, Kurt
I did
wrote it
not.
in
Oh,
Exodus. You can find the Exodus version.
oh,
At least
nice.
that they didn't write the whole song, but the everyone's favorite part, die,
Oh,
die. So that
okay.
died that whole thing was in an Exodus song. I
Oh,
don't remember what the song's called. I don't think it's called Creeping Death, but yeah, that's they lifted
oh,
that one
okay.
from. There's a whole YouTube video from songs that Metallica borrowed from. And it would be like, Megadeth
Okay.
songs and
Sure.
and this and that. It's an interesting watch if you
Well,
can
they were all
track it down and remember what
contemporaries
it's
of one
called.
another. And
Right, right,
Exodus
right,
is one of those bands again that didn't get the justice they deserve.
right,
There are a lot of bands like that.
right.
But yeah, and the first time I saw Metallica, I saw them twice within a year. I saw them right before Injustice for All came out, and I saw them right
Okay.
after it came out. So the first time I saw them, like the cult
Yeah,
was
that's a good
before
time
them.
to see him, man. That's a
Yeah, it was
good time to see
great.
him.
And I'm like, oh man, I hope I hear Creeping Death. And that's what they
Yeah.
opened with. I'm like, oh, well, I'm good. And this was an outdoor venue, like in the middle of a
Yeah.
fucking field, and I'm like 6 rows or 7 rows, like I'm just standing there. I'm like, it didn't get crushed by a pit. It was really nice.
In that
Yeah.
era too, I think they played Creeping Death even faster live.
I don't remember
I
it.
know with Master of Puppets, there's
Yeah,
video of them doing Creeping Death with Master of Puppets tour, and they're just
it's a great
blazing
song.
through it, man.
Yeah, I loved that. I love that. And my number 1 song, because it's their best album, and Justice for All. I love the complexity of that song. I love
It's a good
how
song.
they 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 really, except for not having any bass. What the fuck,
Yeah,
man?
yeah. See,
Um,
that's one of the things I don't
it
like about
sounds
it.
so horrible, like
I
without
don't
the
like
bass.
I don't like the reasoning behind it.
I think
I
it was,
don't like any of it.
yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Like they were just being assholes, especially
Yep.
Lars was being assholes. Like, look, if you're gonna hire a bass player, let him fucking play a bass because he's a good bass player.
Right,
And then if
right.
you ever hear those songs with the bass parts back in,
Yeah.
oh my God,
Oh,
it
it's
just
great. It's terrific.
changes the song
And they,
so
you know what?
fundamentally.
Here's another thing. Metallica, you fuckers. Hello. You have the fucking reels. Can you go back and can you actually do it on your end?
No, because then they'll admit
Metallica,
that they were wrong, that they were cocksuckers.
yeah,
That's they'll admit.
Metallica.
Lars is gonna have to say, "Oh, I was being a douchebag." You know,
He already has. He's
well
come
then,
out and been
then
like,
release them.
yeah, he came out and he was like, yeah, I told him to turn it down, or
Lars,
maybe it was the engineer
down to
that
like
said that.
nothing.
Somebody said it. Somebody
Someone
was
said
like,
it. Lars said kept on turning it down and down until it was
yeah,
like non-existent.
there was non-existent, right? So they
Why
just
was he
did all
being
the
threatened? Why hire a bass player and then not let him
yeah,
play?
just
I
don't.
know they were like ripping into him. They were like doing all kinds of
They were
pranks and
hazing
shit.
him hard, yeah.
Hazing, but that's different than you're fucking out on the fucking album.
Yeah, like
You know?
that's a real
I
like
mean,
we're
I get a little
punishing
bit of
you.
hazing, but like, look, douchebags. Like, you want me to be in this band or what? You know what? Is this
Yeah,
how
and
it's gonna be forever?
he put up with it for a long
Way
ass
too
fucking
long.
time, man.
Yeah, it's way
And
too
so
long.
it's like with that particular thing, recently they've reissued all those
Lars,
records. They
come on.
remastered all those records. You
Except
had
for
an
that one,
opportunity. Yeah, no, they did.
but
And it
without
still has
bass.
no bass.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Here's your
Bring
opportunity. Here's your
bring the
opportunity.
bass, motherfuckers.
Yeah, like we don't want to hear other people with enhanced bass doing it on YouTube and shit.
Yeah.
Because I don't know that I trust enhanced bass. What did you just play the bass parts and then slap them in there? I don't fucking know if that's authentic.
Right.
I want
right.
Metallica to release.
I
an
guess we can call
authentic
Jason
bass
Newsted.
method.
Jason, you're welcome to come on and play the bass parts for us.
Yeah.
We'll just do our own version. We'll just release it. I forgot to do Chop's Megadeth picks. I can go those real quick and I'll do his Metallica's. His Megadeths were Reckoning Day, Hook and Mouth, In My Darkest Hour, Holy
Hook
Wars,
and
and
Mouth
Peace
is
Sells.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Chop's Metallica is Hit the Lights, Fade to Black, Fight Fire with Fire, Disposable Heroes, and One.
Yeah,
So,
Disposable Heroes is that's another
yeah,
solid
again,
one, man.
Metallica was hard to pick only 5 because when you think about individual
Mhm.
songs, like, man, I don't listen to these guys really much anymore, but God, they really have some good music. It's
Yeah.
hard to pick, you know?
Right.
Oh, and my favorite, I think, of the 4, the big 4, Slayer. I've seen Slayer, let's see, 1, 2, I think only 2 times, 3 times. The last time I saw Slayer, it was at the downtown pavilion, the Nautica,
Yeah.
and it was God, I want to say it was Testament and Megadeth and Slayer, and they are all playing whole albums because it was like the 25th anniversary of
Oh,
whatever.
nice.
So Testament did Souls of Black, which is not one of my favorite albums, you know. Megadeth did I think they did Rust in Peace the whole way
Yeah.
through, which was awesome. And then
Yeah.
Slayer did Seasons in the Abyss,
Okay.
which, all the way through, which was great. But yeah, that was a good show. I mean, Testament is another one of those underrated bands that just they never got the
Testament
best.
they got the whole Metallica ripoff label.
Yeah, but like, no, they
And
are
I don't know
totally
why. I have
such a different
no
band.
I don't know how they got
Yeah.
that. I don't get it.
And they're another
but
band that it just gets better and better. Every fucking album is more brutal than the next.
Yeah.
Just so good. So okay.
Right. So
Well-
your favorite of the 4 is my least favorite of the 4.
Really?
I'm not a huge Slayer fan, to be
Oh,
honest. I
interesting.
just
Okay.
never. I think one of the reasons is doing the being in a new wave of thrash band. Everyone kind of sounded like Slayer to me.
Okay.
Like that was all the band sound, and we didn't sound like that, and no one was. We caught shit for that. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, oh, we don't sound like Slayer or Demolition Hammer, so we don't want we're
Yeah.
not going to get the attention you probably feel you deserve. Okay, but so I don't know. There's just too many clones doing this shit. But having said that,
Yeah,
I do
love
still
them.
like.
Yeah.
I do still love Slayer and appreciate stuff. It's just not my favorite. Well,
Gotcha.
I don't know. I shouldn't say that because again, coming back to Anthrax, I'm like, it's a toss up. So my mind is very tight and easy for me. These are the only 2 records that matter to me: Rain and Blood and Show No Mercy being the creme de la creme.
Okay, we're going
De la
old
creme.
school. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I can't. That record. So, anyways, let's just start with
God Hates Them All is
Slayer.
really good as well. I like it.
I never got into it, man. I never got into it. I just didn't. I was like,
Yeah, I didn't like the album they did. Like, was it Divine Intervention was okay. I hated the mix. The one they did after that, it was all new metal. It was all groove metal because Kerry King took over writing, and he was all doing like he had a song about playing fucking what was it? God, the game, not football, but it was rugby. I mean, he had a song about like what Scrum. I'm like, gee, really? Come on, man. It's like hearing like Weekend Warrior, I'm like,
dude,
fuck.
I
Dude.
drove like this happened to me a lot when I lived in South Dakota, actually more than I care to admit. 2 times. I drove 2 hours to get Christ Illusion when it came out.
Wow.
I
I'm
stood in
sorry.
line at midnight. Got it. It
Yeah.
was like the album, you got a percentage off of the album, and everything in the store was like a percentage off. So I kind of used it as an excuse to go and buy some used
Sure,
CDs.
of course.
So we drove down there though. They opened up at midnight, and my wife and I went down to the record store because we were living everything in South Dakota is several hours from each other. So Sioux Falls is 2 hours away from Huron. So we drove down. Like we left at 10, we got there around midnight. There was a line, which was weird. That was wild. I'd never been. I know that in your day, record releases like that were very common. You know, like the stores would do the midnight sale. You go up and get it like
Yeah, I never
because
went. I never did that.
you never did that. Well, I
Never
wanted
once.
to do. I
No.
did it that. I did it
I
that
used to
time.
did that one time to get concert tickets
Okay.
because that's the only way you had to go to fucking Ticketmaster in the mall
Right.
to go wait in line to get your tickets. And that's what I did for Iron Maiden. That's why I got
Yeah.
seventh row on the floor for Seventh Son. I'm like, I was like
Right.
third or fourth in line, and I still got seventh row.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I'm like,
Right.
well, I'll take it. You know,
Yeah.
no, I
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, so I wanted to do that. I also did it for what's that Maiden record with the tank? What's that one
Oh,
called?
Matter of Life and Death.
Yeah, I just both of those records. Well, I was bummed out by. So
Really, I
Slayer to
love that
me,
album. I think it's a
Slayer
great
to
album.
me got real formulaic
Okay.
in
Yes.
the last several, where it was just
Yes.
like, okay,
Their
you just
last
get
three
the
albums have been
sound exactly the
completely
same.
forgettable. It's every song is
Yep,
repeated.
that's
I
what
can't name one song that's good
they,
or interesting because it's like
right.
Kerry King has taken over. Every song
Yes,
is like 3 minutes of just fast, fast, fast.
right.
Here's my fast riff, and here's the solo that Vic
Here's
Stone's
the
gonna
thing
make
about
fun of me.
Slayer. Here's the thing. Slayer had one real guitarist and one pretend guitarist, and we all know who is who here. All your favorite Slayer songs, guess who wrote them? Jeff Hanneman.
Yeah.
So,
Kerry King did a lot of the lyric writing.
yep.
Not Kerry King
The
later,
part that I
but
don't give a
Tom
shit about.
Araya. I love the songs Tom Araya wrote.
Yeah.
Early on, that's where my era comes from. Those early
Yeah,
songs
fair
where he
enough.
did, and Hanneman did a lot of that too. Yeah, Kerry
Right.
King, he's taken over the writing, and that's why Slayer turned out the way it did. The last three albums.
Right. So, obviously, you know, what would be my number 5? This is actually hard because I do love these two records. I mean, I like Seasons too and stuff. I haven't listened to them in a while, but these are the two
Yeah.
I'm gonna come back to, and I got to get
Yeah.
not
What's
have
their last?
sunglasses on.
Repentless. I like the song Repentless.
Just
But it's like,
I don't Gary
but it's
Holt.
not
eh.
memorable. It's not. There's no riffing that's memorable. It's just
Here's the
fast.
thing.
And I like Gary
I don't
Holt.
know.
I
don't
liked
know if
him.
Holt, yeah, I know. I think he might have contributed a little bit to those releases. Don't hold me to it. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I know that like the last Exodus
Gary, want to come
record,
on and talk to us about Exodus and Slayer? Come on.
the last Exodus record, which is another one I don't remember the title. It's very bright. But that album, everybody says is fantastic. You don't hear
Yeah.
that too much. So
Yeah.
that's one worth looking into if you haven't.
Definitely.
I mean,
I will.
obviously Angel of Death's gonna be, but I just don't know if probably Raining Blood, Angel of Death. There's my 5 and
Yeah.
4.
Okay.
Oh man, how is Angel of Death your 4? Because
yeah.
this fucking record right here is the best Slayer record. That's why. So let's see. Give me a second, because all these ones are just hard to read. I don't want you to see the bags under my eyes.
That's why you wear such big lenses.
Yeah, it's gotta hide them. So this is hard. I'm gonna put Die by the Sword as my 3,
It's a great song.
and Cryonics is number 2.
Okay.
Because the Antichrist is my favorite Slayer
Yeah.
song of all time.
It's funny how we think along in terms there, Vic. Again, your number 1 is my number 5.
How many is it now in a
3
row?
3 of the 4.
3.
I love the Antichrist. That's my number 5. It was hard for me. This one was really hard for me because there's so many songs that I had to not pick, like At Dawn They Sleep,
Yeah.
and I love that era of Slayer. I like everything until the last couple albums.
Okay.
They are just utterly forgettable because they
Yeah.
just they were. It sounds like 10 of the same song
Same,
over and over.
yeah. So don't fault them at that, because that's a thing that a lot of these bands are doing.
Yeah,
these
it's
days.
like why even put a record
But
out?
yeah,
if
don't
it's-
put
if
a
it's-
record out. Yeah, it sounds
Then
exactly
don't.
the same.
Yeah. Antichrist number 5, and I love when they That's such a fun song. And like when I saw them on the Clash of the Titans, they opened up with my number 4, which is Hell Awaits, which I think,
Okay.
man, talk about a brutal fucking riff, and fast.
Right. Right.
But that was my first experience with Slayer, and I was like, holy fuck, this is terrifying
Right.
in the best way possible, because it was just all this, it was so intense, and the light show was great. And then my number 3 is I remember the lighting, because the whole stage just turned red for
Yeah.
Raining Blood.
Yeah.
So I love Raining Blood. I love that album. Hell Awaits is like maybe one of the best thrash albums of all time. Speed metal, whatever you want to call it. It may be one of the best metal albums of all time. It's definitely in the top 5, I would think. Number 2 is War Ensemble.
That's a good song. That's a
It is a
good
ripper.
song.
It is a fucking ripper, especially live. Slayer is one of those bands that is so good live.
Yeah.
They just are so good live. And they've gone through drummers like Megadeth's gone through, guitarists.
Right.
Um, and I like Paul Bostaff. He's a lot more technical of a drummer. He's not as Dave Lombardo will always be the best drummer for Slayer. I'm sorry.
I think so too.
He
Yeah.
just feels like drums are a part of him, where Bostaff is technically really fast, but his fills are all the same. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I can do this. And like when you go to the extreme, like George Colius, like he's just amazing to watch because his fills are just so fucking fast.
Right.
It just blurs. It just blurs. But yeah, War Ensemble, that's the strongest track off of Seasons. Um, it's a great album, but I don't listen to it the whole way too, because there comes some tracks that kind of drag it down. But my number 1 is Angel of Death. I mean, it
Yeah.
was almost Altar of Sacrifice.
Okay.
I had to juggle like what do I have to take out? Altar of
Right.
Sacrifice. I'm like, that I love that. I love that song. But all these songs embody Slayer to me because they're always
Mhm.
talking about satanic themes, but a little bit of tongue in
Right.
cheek, a little bit of like, like, look, man, we're gonna be pushing the envelope too
Yeah.
far.
Right.
And that's like for comical, like I laugh. Like Chop and I went to see them and we were just laughing the whole time, We're like, and like when you hear Tom Arai's like, "Hello, whites," we're just like, "Oh my God, this is just so good. It's just so much fun."
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and they are still good live. Well, I don't know what they sound like now after the Retirement Sucks tour. They took a cue from Ozzy, like, "Well, we don't have any
Yeah.
money
Right.
left. Let's do a couple shows and make a shit ton of money." Um, again, look, if you're gonna retire, man, retire.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
and then the Kerry King's new album came out. I've only heard one track from it, but it sounds just like the last couple Slayer albums. So I'm assuming it's 10 tracks of the same. Just really
Lots of
fast.
whammy. Lots of whammy
Yeah,
in
really
there.
fast. He's not a good guitarist. He's a good rhythm guitarist because he can play the riffs. But he
Absolutely.
yeah, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Not everyone's fit out to be, who we got the lead guitar, but
Right.
the riffing that comes with the earlier Slayer songs is so memorable, and that's 100% on Hanneman.
Right.
Because he just had a different musical style and sensibility. And
Yes.
so again, another band that we see different eras of. And there's a couple albums that, I just I'm not crazy about. I forget which one it is. It's fucking the new metal. That's how the NU, new metal. And like, oh, it's like da 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 da. It sounds like they're Corn or some shit like that, or Limp Bizkit. I'm like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Well, no, no, no. Um, yeah, I was trying to find Disciple. That was one of
Yeah.
I love that song too. Again, that just brutal, great opening track. But you can't fit them in. You only got 5. But
That's right.
to me, that's sums up what I love so much about Slayer. Those satanic themes and just kind of really dark, melodic, and fun. Way over the top, fast, you
Yeah.
know. And when you see like Tom Arai just kind of like and you hear him talk about like we don't take ourselves that seriously or him, everyone else is trying to be all serious, especially Kerry King. It's like you gotta be serious, like, and I just love Tom Arai because like when he's like smiling on stage, it seems so weird, like
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
just like watching people thrash, he's like laughing like you guys are fucking crazy,
Yep.
and that's what I like seeing him kind of like laughing at the audience, like look, we're just having a good time, just have fun,
Right.
go crazy, just don't hurt each other.
Right. Right. And touching on the retirement thing, I don't think these bands understand. You guys got to fucking retire because the pool is going to dry up. They're not allowing any younger bands to get bigger because these fucking dinosaurs are still out there doing it and they're taking attention away from because their fans are diehards, man.
Yeah.
And then those same people, this is what's frustrating about it. Those same people will go, well, they just don't make music like this anymore.
Well, they do.
Well,
That's
yeah,
the
they
thing.
fucking do. You gotta
You,
fucking
you
look
gotta
for
look.
it.
You gotta find it. That's the thing. You know, I would never aware of all the great music out there until we started doing these shows.
Yeah, right.
The underground metal scene is where it's exciting, where it's fresh, and you see bands that have been out there for 40 years, like Violence, who are still making good music. You know,
Right.
and you know, I get that. Deceased has a new album coming out. You know, like yeah, great. Um, you know, I know. Um, Nunslaughter's got some new music coming out. Like these are, you know, local bands, Nunslaughter. But and then you have like young, really young bands like Assault. They open for Vindicator.
Yeah.
Those guys are really fucking great. I'm like, I want to see more of them. They are really good. You know, they are that really great technical, like West Coast thrash style, you know, like Death Angel and really, really good band. And they're like 14 years old. You know, they look 14. I know they're not, but like Jesus Christ, these guys are babies.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, but there's a lot of good music out there, and you know, I'm just scratching the surface. Um, you know, of all the good music, and you've pointed me to some good.
Right.
And you could probably make a list of like we're gonna do an episode Vic's top 100 recommendations.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, and like you're just gonna say here, listen to this. Here, listen to this. Here, and just hold up CDs. Like, listen, motherfucker, you got to get this record. I'm
Yeah.
like, all right, all right. Um, but yeah. So, oh, I should probably do Chops 5. His Slayer, Hell Awaits, Seasons in the Abyss, South of Heaven, Chemical Warfare, and Raining Blood. So there we go. It was so tempting to want to do the easy ones for me. Like there's
Right.
so many easy picks on all these bands, but I really had to go through and like look for ones that I that
Yeah.
mean a lot to me that I'd like. That's like Use the Man was probably my favorite pick out of that bunch because it was unexpected. You
Yeah,
know, no
exactly.
one's gonna pick Use the Man as a top 5 Megadeth song. Um, you know, yeah, I totally get it. But yeah, Slayer's fun. Although if hard pressed, if I could see only one of these guys right now who I want to see, as long as I can sit, I can see anybody. I don't want to stand. I can't stand for 2.5 hour show to see
Fair enough.
Metallica.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I don't know. Probably I'd probably see Anthrax out of all of them. I
Yeah.
think I would. Yeah, because I have not seen him for a long time. Um, I don't know. You know, yeah, that's
For
hard to
me,
say.
I'd want to see Slayer. I mean, I'm not going to. I'm not paying those the ticket
They're
prices
only
are going
doing
to
a
be
couple shows, like big
yeah,
stadium shows,
right.
right?
They're doing yeah, I think they're doing like festival circuit type
Okay,
stuff.
yeah.
I'm not paying that ticket price to see
Well,
them. But
how much is a festival ticket?
if it's fests that they're playing, those festival tickets are going to be steep. And
Okay,
I'm trying to think of what specifically because I seen that they announced a few days. I think that's the plan for them though, is to
okay.
kind of do
Make a
like
shit ton of
the
money. We're gonna play
yeah,
5 shows and make retire again
right,
till
yeah,
next year.
till next year, yeah. And so like I think
It's
like
like a
Hell
Hallmark Christmas movie. We're gonna come back in July. We're gonna come back in December.
yes, yes. So I think it's like the Hellfests and the Vakens and things like
Okay,
that.
the
It's
big
just
ones.
like not paying the ticket price to see
No,
that.
no. I mean,
But if I could see
tickets are
them, I
expensive anyway for any
right,
band. Like Opeth is coming
precisely.
to, yeah, Opeth is coming. I think they're coming to the Agora. I'd love to see them again, but it's like tickets were like $129 or some shit. I'm like,
Yeah, they're
you know,
crazy.
it's like I can't
Another
afford that.
reason to support the underground. Ticket prices are never that
Yeah, you're
bonkers at
gonna pay
underground shows.
25 on the north end. You're gonna pay
Right, yeah.
15 bucks for a great fucking show.
Right, right,
You
right.
know, yeah, like Nunslaughter is coming, I think October 6th or something to No Class. They're playing with other bands. Like I'll go in and I'll come and see you know, Nunslaughter because Dawn of the Dead was just on our show.
Yeah.
Um, I just want to go say hi. You know, it's like, hey, in
Yeah,
person,
exactly.
get some pictures, and you know, I got my Nunslaughter hat. I got my stickers on the wall of cool.
Yeah.
Um, you know, just to say hey, and I'll stick around for a couple shows. I probably won't stay there for the whole night,
Right,
but
yeah.
but what he mentioned was, you know, because Deceased has a new album, you know, coming out this fall.
Yeah.
Next year is Deceased's 40th anniversary, and so he was saying that there's some talk about perhaps doing Deceased Nunslaughter tour,
Okay.
which I'm like, I will see that. I mean, the first time I
Right.
saw them was though they played at No Class. It was Lady Beast and Nunslaughter or Ringworm Nunslaughter and Deceased. Like, and it was like $20 or something something
Right.
ridiculous like that.
Right.
You know, I'm like, well, fuck yes, that's going to be the best show you're going to pay $20 for, you know?
Right. Right.
Yeah. And, I don't, you know, when you first mentioned about how these bands, these underground bands, they might pay like 45 minutes or an hour. I'm like, "Oh, God, that doesn't seem like enough. Like, but I'm
Right.
used to like going to like a show like, okay,
Yeah.
Rush always, you know,
Right.
they played 2.5 hours, Iron Maiden plays 2 hours or whatever. But you know, this is not the same thing. This underground metal,
It's a
you're gonna
different
get
beast.
it's a
Yeah.
different beast. And I like the hour-long set or the 45-minute set. Sometimes it feels a little short, but like, you know, it's better than going on too long.
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
I'm old now. I get tired. Like, you
Yeah.
know, get on the 45 minutes. Like I can enjoy that, take a breather. Yeah. Okay. I can do that 45 minutes at
Yeah.
a time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I totally get it, you know. Uh, but anyway, Vic, I want to thank you again for
Yeah.
joining
Thanks for
us,
having
man.
me. Thanks
This
for
was so
having
much
me.
fun. And seriously, get that list. It doesn't have to be 100. Maybe the top 20 bands or something. Vic's
Yeah. I
20.
could do that. I
We'll
could
do
do
a
that.
Vic 20, like the Commodore 64. That's way
Yeah.
before your time. The Vic 20 was the computer that came out before the Commodore 64, which
All
was
right.
my first computer way back in the day. 64K of memory.
Yeah. That's a lot. That's a
Hey,
lot.
you know, that's a lot of K. Um, yeah, you had the big 5.5-inch floppy disks, you
Yeah.
know, the word processor, because, you know, it only had so much memory because you have 64K.
Yeah.
So
Right.
if I took it to college and I was writing my papers, but after like 6 pages, it ran out of room. You had to start a separate document. And like my papers would be like 2 or 3 documents, this giant gaps in the middle, you know, along with my really cool dot matrix printer. And my instructors would always write like, why is this gap here? I'm like, because I got a fucking Commodore 64, you know. And I had one say like, well, why don't you just get a different computer? I go, because I don't have $2,000. I'm a fucking college student. They're like, Jesus Christ, what do you
Yeah.
want from me?
Right. Right.
You know?
Oh man.
Uh, yeah. So, well, if you give me the money to buy a new computer, I will
Yeah.
gladly buy a new
Exactly.
computer. That's not a dot matrix printer,
Yeah.
you know? Ah, the old good old days. Back in my day, I had a real printer. You can still hear it.
I liked that sound. I thought that sound was cool.
Yeah, I'd buy the box of the fan fold paper, you know, had the little holes on the side that you fed it in the printer. It was, you know, oh yeah, that was exciting once you got that in there. Like, oh, I'm set. I got 500 pages. I can print all kinds of shit. You know,
Yeah.
you buy the ribbons. It was actually ribbons, no ink cartridges. You bought fucking like typewriter ribbons. You know, that's what it used. Like, oh yeah, back when computers were good.
I mean, hell, they last longer than 5 years back then.
Yeah,
So you
yeah.
just
Well,
had
my
that
computer
going.
now is rebuilt. My buddy built this for me, and in a couple years it crashed and had a new motherboard. But this one's been going on for about 15 years. But
Yeah, good for
I
you.
still use Windows 7. Fuck you, Windows 11.
Dude, yeah, no, Windows 7 was a good one.
Windows 7 stayed steady. It's great, but no one
I
supports
had
it anymore. No one's like,
no.
we don't fucking use Windows 7. I'm like, well then, what do you want from me? I'm not changing. Oh, anyway, hey, g- any last words before we do our wonderful outro?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't have nothing fun to say.
All right. Well, hey, you can find Heavy Metal Horror on unsaneradio.com, listen to full episodes, or download to your device. You can find us on Facebook, Heavy Metal Horror Podcast. On Instagram, look for Montag Lewis, one word. Our YouTube page, Heavy Metal Horror Podcast, if you're watching. That's where you're at. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. And if you know someone who would like our show, tell them about us. This has been Montag, Master of Illusion.
Wildcard.
And you've been watching and listening to Heavy Metal Horror.
This is Doug Helvering, and you have been listening to Heavy Metal Horror, the best podcast that you've never heard before.